crystal clear, most beautiful copy of the Zapruder film you've ever seen in your life. And you're going to see, without any doubt, William Greer shoot President Kennedy and kill that man in Dallas.
Nearly 25 years ago, the people of the United States and the world were shattered by the impact of an assassin's bullets upon the helpless, unsuspecting young President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. The horrendous wound inflicted by those bullets has penetrated deeply into the body and soul of America, destroying the very lives of thousands and the heart and trust and political will of literally millions. In the years that have passed since this tragic event removed from the world stage perhaps one of the most promising human agents of peace and progressive political development, we have been fed one officially sanctioned lie after another, beginning with a blue ribbon cover-up commission to a castrated Senate Select Committee seeking to shed light upon an event deliberately enshrouded in deception, concealment, and outright falsehood. 25 years is long enough. It is time the truth was finally told, in the earnest hope that it will truly set us free of the murderers who pose as our protectors. What we're observing here is the motorcade in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963. As the presidential car passes behind the freeway sign, President Kennedy is struck in the throat by a bullet that was fired from the grassy knoll. As he's grasping his throat, John Connally is turning around to his right. He at that point is struck. You notice the the passenger of the car turning back to see what has happened to the president. As he turns back to the front, the driver of the car turns with his left arm over his right shoulder with a pistol and fires. You see the 45 caliber nickel-plated automatic weapon in his left hand. He's firing over his right shoulder. You see it in relief. You see his head pointing backwards towards the president. In this enhanced close-up, you see the impact of the bullet upon the president. The force of the shot drives him violently backward against the back of the seat. You see Mrs. Kennedy react in horror. The ugly gaping wound, which is evident here, according to many observers at the scene, was actually created on the print. This was not the actual nature of the wound. But you notice that Mrs. Kennedy wasted no time in trying to exit the vehicle because she clearly was able to determine exactly where that shot had originated, and it was her personal bodyguard, Clint Hill, another Secret Service agent, who attempted to keep her in. What the arrow is indicating here is what appears to be the outline of a man, a hat, and his rifle. The arrow is pointing to the rifle barrel of the man in the bushes who possibly was the rifleman on the grassy knoll who fired that shot. Another view taken by another photographer. Again, you see Mrs. Kennedy trying to exit the vehicle from behind, being pushed back in by her bodyguard. A number of witnesses on the scene rushing towards the vehicle. In this section, the man standing on the far right of the wall there is Abraham Zapruder, the photographer who took the original photos. The arrow here is indicating what was very likely the rifleman on the grassy knoll, the man who fired the shot which penetrated Kennedy's throat from the front, not from behind as the Warren Commission would have you believe. Very interesting note also that the motorcycle policemen were told to remain behind the car at all times. Here you see the passenger in the front turning back, looking at the president. Instead of jumping back to assist him, he turns forward. The driver's now rotating. The weapon comes into view and he fires. You'll see this repeatedly in these sequences. Kennedy's been shot in the throat. He's leaning to his left. The driver now begins to rotate. His left arm comes over his right shoulder and he fires now. Again, you see the driver rotate. You see the weapon come into view. He's rotating again. The weapon is in view. He fires. You can clearly see his head turning and his arm and the weapon extending into view over his right shoulder. Many of the witnesses indicated that the car slowed almost to a virtual halt at about this point. And here in the normal version, you see how much more quickly it is speeded up. It's much harder to determine. Many of the people who ask the question why Jackie Kennedy did not report this, it should be fairly evident that she wasted no time in getting away from the attacker.
For those of you who were able to see it the first time out, pretty shocking, wasn't it? I bet it changes your mind about a lot of things. And if you still have any doubts, keep watching. But first, I'm going to show you and let you hear a statement made by President Dwight David Eisenhower when he left the office of president. He tried to warn us, and we didn't listen. I think it's time to hear his warning again. And this time, I think we had better listen.
Longtime crowd pleaser Dwight Eisenhower is in his final year in the White House. Much of the country is still satisfied with the father figure's easy grin, though he seems tired by now. He got the U.S. out of Korea, but the economy is a problem, and some are bored with his hold-the-line approach. There is a growing mood for change. Leaving office, he fires a broadside at 2 power centers that could destroy the world.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
I know some of you remember hearing that. I know that many of you have never heard it and didn't even know about it. And if you hadn't seen it on this video, might never have known about it for the rest of your life. Now you're going to see another tape. We sent the original copy of Dallas Revisited that we had obtained from John Lear, and another copy that we had obtained directly from Lars Hansen, to Japan for computer analysis. The Japanese computer analyzed the film. They agreed William Greer shot President Kennedy. No doubt about it. In fact, I woke up a whole nation, and that's what I set out to do. Only it's the wrong nation. I woke up Japan. They played that tape over and over again during prime time. The whole Japanese nation knows now who shot President Kennedy. They sent me back a color copy. Now, the color copy is better, much better, than Dallas Revisited. But it's still not the best. But one thing that will help you, the act is circled, and they outlined what they found by computer analysis. So you're going to be able to see it a lot better this time around. Remember, keep your eyes on the driver.
一発目が発射された直後、画面右端の運転手が振り向き、肩越しにピストルで撃つのが見える。画面の右端に見える運転手の動作に注意するとわかる。ハンドルを握った右腕越しに左手でピストルを突き出している。もう一度見てみよう。間もなく運転手の頭が後ろを振り向くと同時に肩のところに白く光るピストルが出てくるのが見える。今後ろを振り向く。同じシーンを何度か繰り返してみるとよくわかる。
Well, I know that now a lot more of you have seen it. A lot more than saw it when you watched the original black and white Dallas Revisited at the beginning of this videotape. And I bet there's some wet eyes out there. You've probably gone into the Kleenex box or into your pocket for a handkerchief. Don't be ashamed and don't be embarrassed. It never fails to bring a